Hello friends and welcome to Simply Excellence with NC. I hope you are enjoying your adventures with Excel. Over a period of time, do you feel that you get bogged down by the organizing of data in your worksheets? You have so much of information which you want to organize, and then how do we organize that information in your sheets in Excel? In addition to that, we write so many formulas, we write calculations, we write functions, and then we do not get the desired results. Sometimes we get errors which we are unable to understand. So watch this video. All your problems, all your concerns will be covered up in this video. So what we are going to talk about is, first of all, we are going to talk about certain things related to calculations, like certain errors which come up and we are unable to understand those errors, and how to come out of those errors, and how to realize or how to identify why that particular error is coming, whether it is an error also or not. That also we will look into. We will also watch the video till the end, and we will also talk about how do we organize information in our Excel sheet. So let's start our journey. So let's start first of all various errors what we can get in an Excel sheet. I have done some calculations. I have this Excel sheet where I have the data. I have done some calculations for the receipt amount here, but what I wanted was, I wanted a percentage of the receipt amount based on the current invoice. Now the formula what I have written, it seems to me it is perfectly fine. If you observe, I have written K2, not in this cell, K2 divided by J2. So we are saying receipt amount divided by, not J2, sorry, I should mention I2, but boom, I get an error here. Can you observe? Some of the rows I am not getting an error, but some of the rows I am getting an error here. So what can be the problem here? Now if you see here, my value, now it is giving a value error. When does a value error come? A value error would be a result of a scenario where you are doing a calculation, but the result of that calculation or the values what you have used in that calculation do not match the output what you are expecting. Like for example, when we are talking about a number divided by another number, like the receipt amount divided by the current invoice amount, what value should it return? It should return a numeric value. Later we can convert it to percentage, but then let's observe what has been. Do we have both these values, that is the current invoice amount and the receipt amount, in a numeric value, in a numeric format? No. Current invoice is in a currency format or in accounting format, which is internally a number format itself, but the receipt amount is a general format, which is, while typing this amount, I typed dollar along with the number. So it became a general format. I did not change it to number, I did not convert. Now if I try to convert it to a number format or a currency format, for example, it still doesn't get converted. So that is the reason why we are getting the value error. So whenever you have a value error, the first thing what you need to understand is the result what you are expecting, the format of the result what you are expecting, and the format of the values what you are using to get that result, are they the same? Now one option here what you can do is, you just remove the dollar symbols, because somebody by mistake might have typed this with a dollar symbol. The moment we remove the dollar symbol, do you see the value error? The value has gone, hash value error has gone, and what we are getting is the correct result. Now we can use our currency format here, and we can put the currency symbol, whichever currency symbol we want. This was the first error what we get. Let's look at another error here. Do you see that I have an error here where it is mentioning div 0, hash div 0. This is an error which happens because you're trying to divide a number by 0. Can we divide a number by 0? Please put in the comment box. Basic mathematics, we cannot divide any number by 0, isn't it? So that is the reason. So the formula here was, I will just change the formula, M12, which is as a matter divided by L12. It should not be L12, it should be I12 again. So what is happening here? It says 0%, right? I don't want to convert it to percentage. I'll just put it as a number. It gives me 0. So this is one way of rectifying this error. But another way of rectifying this error is, if you get a hash div error, but you might have a scenario where you are trying to have a value where you have no values, that is, you're trying to divide a number with another cell where there is no value. So Excel considers it as a 0. So in that case, what you can do is, there are formulas available, there are functions available. So what we can do is, if we are doing this, I'll go to formula. So I'll start it from the beginning itself. First row itself, I'll go to formulas, I'll go to logical, and you can see there are two things, if error and if NA. In this case, I will show you both the options. I'll use if error, and I will use my calculation here. If error receipt amount divided by the current invoice. So if there is an error, any kind of an error in this calculation, I want to return a value of 0. So there is no error here, and wherever there is an error, it returns 0. You can solve this by using this. There is another function which is available, that is if NA. If NA is used in scenarios mostly with a VLOOKUP function or any of the lookup functions, where we are trying to look for a value from our master data. You would remember my video on VLOOKUP and lookup functions. If you have gone through that video, you will understand that how does a VLOOKUP function works. And if you want to just have a recap of that, you can do that. Again, watch the video and you will understand how the VLOOKUP function works. So what we do in this case is, if we are looking, for example, I'm looking for an invoice number and from another place, and I want to return a value, but the invoice numbers don't match, or I don't get that invoice number. It is lookup function will return you hash NA. Now hash NA is, as a matter of fact, not an error. You don't have to get bogged down by that particular thing. It's more of a scenario where it is saying that I did not find a value matching this. So any function which is looking for a value, or if it is not able to return a result for an expression, it gives you a hash NA error. If error is a general function which can be used for any of the errors, and if NA is specific to hash NA error, is used mostly with the lookup functions. Another type of a error which might happen, which is, I would not say will not return you a result, but can give you an output which you do not expect. For example, let's say I am trying to calculate some number here, and I say equal to 3360 divided by 3200, and you get a value error. But I will just change this, and instead of using instead of using M15, I will start using the date column. It gives you a value which is not the thing, which we don't expect. So what is wrong in this? Now in this scenario, the error is not the system error, or it is not an error which is because of any system issue or because of the structure. It's more of a logical error. How do you find out what things have gone wrong? What we can do is, we could first go to the formulas tab. In the formulas tab, there is an option which checks error. There are multiple options what we have. First is, You can do error checking for any of the formulas. Now it has come to value error. It says that there is a problem here, so I go to help on, or I can click on show calculation steps. So I will click on show calculation steps. In the calculation steps, it shows you how my error or how my formula is getting evaluated. Can you observe? It says here double quotation mark $3885 divided by 1.05. Now when anything comes in double quotation marks, it is a text value, and if it is a text value, I cannot divide a text value with a number. So easy way out is we simply go and change that particular value which is there, and I make it 3885, and my error goes. I get the value, but this is percentage. Now I see, oh, it is coming as a percentage, so I go to my home tab, and what is the formula now? If you see, it says M2 divided by L2. I don't want it by L2. Now this is again a logical error. I want to divide it by the current invoice amount. I get the correct result. So same thing can be done for the other rows as well. You change the numbers and you get the correct. So logical errors, if you have, you'll have to go into your formula and check what is wrong in the formula, because every time you might not have errors which are because of the structure of the thing, but it is more of a logical thing. Especially in your if functions, your logical errors might be there. So be careful with your if functions. To get more information on the if function, please see the video which I have put on if logical functions. That would give you more clarity on how to use if functions. Go through the video on VLOOKUP function and you will get more clarity on those functions as well. In fact, I have put all those things in a playlist, and you can go through the complete playlist on Adventures to Excel on my channel, and then you will have all the videos there. Next thing, so this was removing or solving our concerns or coming out of the concerns related to the errors what we get. There is another error which might come up is, let's say this particular function what I am giving is M2 divided by I2, and I delete this column. We will get a hash ref error. Hash ref error is just the result of the formula where it says that you are referring to a cell which does not exist anymore. So be careful with that as well, that if you are using a calculation or if you are doing a calculation and there is a column involved, avoid deleting it. And if you want to be sure that what columns are involved, so you can again go back to your formulas tab. In the formulas tab, you have two options that says trace precedence and trace dependence. So if I click on trace precedence, it shows you that this calculation, that is 105%, is a result of which all cells. So it shows us here, you can see a blue arrow line here with two dots which says that these are the two cells which are involved in this calculation. This is one way of checking this. You can remove the arrows. Let's say if I say that I want to delete the receipt amount column and I want to see what will happen, or what are the cells which are dependent on this particular value. So what you can do is you click on that particular cell, go to trace dependence. The moment you go to trace dependence, it will show you that the cell N2 is dependent on this. So if I delete this value, I will get affected here. I will just do one total here, a small total here, and I will do auto sum so that I get the total of all these values, and I will show you how our trace dependent works. So I will come back to this cell, go to formulas tab and click on trace dependence. So it shows that the change in the value in this cell will affect N2 as well as it will affect M28. So we can easily find out where the change effects. Very useful maybe when you're auditing your sheets, you're checking your sheets and you are seeing how are the values getting calculated. You can use these two things. When it is an external link in the sense if the link is coming from another sheet, or if the value is coming from another sheet, you will see a dotted arrow of the data. It will show you a dotted arrow and a icon for a sheet. So you can click on the dotted arrow and it will take you to that sheet. So let's go to the next part of this video, that is organizing your data. This comes from the basics of databases. So what we do is we say that, okay, what is the information required for a particular thing? Why am I creating this sheet? In this sheet, what I have is I have everything here. I have the invoice number, invoice date, customer code, customer name, contact person, everything. Project reference, project amount, current. Why should we keep everything here? We can easily segregate this information, divide this information into multiple sheets, and then link using the options to link sheets, calculations from using linking. We can easily do that. I have covered linking of sheets in one of my videos. Kindly see how we can link those sheets. So let's see. Let's say this sheet we are only creating to track the invoice information. So what do I need? I just need the invoice number, the invoice date, the customer code, or maybe the customer name. That's okay. I don't need the contact person, contact number. I might not need a lot of things here. So what I do is I say fine, this information, that is customer code, customer name, contact person, contact number, all this information I don't want it in the invoice sheet or the invoice master, because invoice master sheet we are creating just to track our invoices. So what we can do is we can create a new sheet, and I will just simply cut these columns and paste them here. So we have all our customer codes. So this becomes our customer master information, where we have the customer codes, customer names, and customer codes are unique values. We will delete these empty rows now. Then comes the next thing. Why do we need project reference, project amount here itself? Because when we talk about invoices, there are multiple invoices which can be generated against the same project reference. You might also want to have a scenario where you want to give the project description as well. So what we can do is we can simply keep this. I'll cut this. I'll make another sheet. I will paste that here. Sorry. I will cut this. I will paste that information here, and we will delete this. So I will name this sheet, the first one what I created, I rename it as, let's say, customer master. Name the other sheet as project master, and here we can even add another column, let's say project description. And we can add whatever description we want to add for a particular project reference. What comes to your mind now is, fine, you have easily removed the customer data from there, you have already removed the project data, but I want to track my invoice. That is, whenever we generate an invoice, I want to have the invoice number, invoice date. I might want to even have the customer code, let's say, and I want to have the project reference here. How do we get the customer codes? Now customer codes, very easy. If you remember what we had talked about in one of my videos about data validation, I can create a list here for the whole column. I can go to using data validations. I can create a list, and I will say that I want a list here, and this list should pick up values from, let's say I don't want customer code because somebody might say I don't remember the customer code. We can easily keep customer codes, customer names list, and the source is my customer name. Click on OK. Now when we go back up, you get the customer name, you choose the customer name. What about the project references? Now this project reference, what we want here, again we can create a drop down list, and what you can further do is to make it more user friendly. You can even have a scenario where you can create project references based on the customer name, and we have covered that in dependent list video. You watch that video and you will understand how we can create dependent lists. So based on the name of the customer, the project references will appear in that particular list. So in a nutshell, the objective of having multiple sheets, now we can easily link anything here. We want to find out the percentage of the receipt amount, for example. What we have is, we have the current invoice and we have the receipt amount. We want to know for a particular customer how much money has been received, or for a particular project reference how much money has been received. So we can easily use the SUMIF function. Look at the conditional functions. We have the SUMIF and SUMIF functions where we can do the totals based on project reference. We can do the total based on the customer code and see how much amount has been received for that particular thing. In fact, you can even separate your receipt data, that is the amount received, in a different sheet, and based on the invoice number you can do the receiving of the invoices, the payments, and then you can create a column or a working column in your invoice sheet, a customer invoice master sheet, so that you can see how much money has been paid or how much money has been received for that. I'm sure you would have understood solving problems or solving errors in your formulas, in your calculations, in your functions, using the if error and the if NA function, plus how to identify why the problem is coming. Along with that, you have also understood how to organize your data. Only thing is, just remember that there will always be a master sheet where your values, like for example invoice numbers, would be only one value, that is unique value, because so that you can receive payments against that invoice in another sheet. Project master has a unique value for the project references. Customer master has a unique value for customer codes. Later we can also use this using the method of creating pivot tables from multiple sheets and organize our data in such a way and get a report based on the invoice number or based on the project reference, based on the customers. How can we see what were the invoices, what were the project amounts, and how much amount is outstanding. All that we have already looked at in my earlier video on pivot tables using multiple sheets. So I hope you enjoyed the video. If you have not subscribed for the channel yet, subscribe for the channel. Don't forget to hit the notification button to get more tips and tricks on Excel. Thank you for watching the video and have a nice time.